Hey, I'm here with my buddy Reed Mack. We've been talking a little bit about old times in Calico Rock, and this is our third segment. And and I wanted you to share with me a little bit now. When you was how old was you? You got drafted, is that right?
I was drafted, yeah,
What year was that?
1953.
1953. Now, what was going on during that
Okay, the
time? Korean War.
Korean War,
Korean
yeah.
War. So now I visit with Uncle Hayden. He was there during the time of Germany with Hitler.
Yeah.
Shared that time that he did. Now, what did you do in the military? What was your part in there?
Well, of course, I had the drug. We owned the
pharmacy.
drugstore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's since 1951. June the 1st, 1951, I graduated from pharmacy school,
Right.
and just a month or two before I graduated, the owner of the
Sure.
store
Uh huh.
approached my dad and said, "You all wouldn't possibly be interested in buying the drugstore, would you?" Well, I got home and we inventoried and all that and
Right.
closed the store, and he handed me the keys. And Thursday morning, I believe it was Thursday, but anyway, it was June the 1st, 1951, that I opened my own drugstore.
Wow.
Now I hustled it.
That's before Steve or Brenda was born.
Oh,
then.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Now you was in the drugstore, and
I was
then
in
you got
the
drafted.
drugstore.
What
I'd been
year?
in there. I'd been there 2 years.
2 years.
The year before, when I'd been a year, I got a message from the draft board,
Right.
to go for physical examination.
Right.
Okay, that's a trip to Little Rock. Had to catch a bus at Melbourne,
Right.
and overnight down there in the YMCA, and then back home the other day. So anyway,
I haven't heard that in a long
and
time.
then they classify you. 1A
Right.
means that you're ready to go.
There you go.
Now 4F
Yeah.
means
I recognize.
you're not eligible to serve.
I remember F's from school, brother. So I understand.
Well, they graduated. They classified me because I was the only drugstore in town.
Right.
And I was married.
Right. Which was two negatives for them
No.
to draft you, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't been married long,
Yeah.
but anyway, one day I got a notice from the draft board, and I had been reclassified.
Oh wow.
1A. I said, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I was shipped to had another bus ride to Little Rock.
Right.
Bus a long ways to Fort Sill, Oklahoma,
Right.
and there for 3 or 4 days. Then a train ride to Virginia, Blackstone, Virginia.
Was that where they did like basic training or
Basic
something like
training
that?
at that time, and it was the training place for to make battlefield medics.
Oh, okay.
And for foot soldiers, and then
Yes. Yes, sir.
If
Yes.
they get wounded,
Yeah.
you got the battlefield. I don't know
Yes.
where they have them now or not.
Right.
With but then that's where they got the training. But the first first 8 weeks of training was kind of like I learned I got to shoot a bazooka. You know what a bazooka
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
Shoots a missile
Yeah, oh, yeah.
at a tank.
Yeah.
But there was an old junker tank off down
Yeah.
there, and all those got to shoot that. And then there's some other things like that. Crawling, went out on bivouac, spent
Yes.
a week,
Yes.
and ate C rations, and crawled under the barbed wire thing there with the tracers going over your
Mm-hmm.
head, and did all that. So I was there 8 weeks.
Now, did they
Then I
ship
got
you
a direct
overseas?
assignment. Now
Yeah.
the next 8 weeks is when they start teaching them the battlefield
Right.
thing. Well, I didn't do that. I got a direct assignment to a military hospital in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
It was actually the largest at the time.
Now, did they treat like wounded soldiers there and things like that at that hospital?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
We didn't have many.
Right.
They went to different hospitals.
Right.
The hospital, this was Denver, Colorado, Fitzsimmons Army Hospital. Fitzsimmons it's named after the first military officer, I believe, that was killed in World War One.
Wow.
Okay, the Fitzsimmons Hospital had started in just wooden structure and something like that in the early 20s,
Right.
and it was because of the altitude, the Mile High City, Denver,
Right.
Mile
Yes.
High City.
Yes.
It was where they sent the tuberculosis patients.
Oh, really?
And when I was there in 1950, I was there from 53 to 55. And while I was there, there were 5 or 6 outlying wards. Had the big hospital, 8 floors, and when but sometimes in the morning, here's my duty:
Okay.
like going to work at 8 in the morning, go home at 5 in the afternoon.
Right. Did Anita get to come out there with you?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
We lived in base housing,
Right.
and so I walked to work. It's only 2 blocks, and it was on the second floor of the hospital, and is in the labs. They sent me out there to work in the pharmacy,
Right.
but the pharmacy was overcrowded with. They had too many pharmacists there, so I got shipped to the medical lab, and it was interesting work. But it would go out in the morning and draw the blood samples,
yes.
and things like that, and in all the different wards, and even the outside had to put on a cap and gown to go in the
Right.
TB wards.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then we'd come back to the lab and spend the rest of the day then doing the various tests. In other words, I sat with looking through a microscope
Yes.
all the day.
Now, along that line, I'm gonna get back to you. Were you there? Is that where you served all your time at, pretty much, right
Yeah,
there?
let me tell you my claim to fame while I was there.
Okay, brother.
When I was working one day and I was taking a break from working, they also did urinalysis in this same section,
Right.
which is a room.
Right.
And over here in the corner over here is where and they had one guy, and he did urinalysis.
Right.
Well, I was taking a little break from looking through a microscope, Well, he had to go on a little break, I don't know, something like that. So he said, "Would you kind of take over here while I'm gone?" And I did. While I was there, orderly brought in a little jar of yellow liquid. I looked at the name on it, Dwight D. Eisenhower,
Oh, wow.
the President of the United States. I performed his urinalysis. That's my claim to fame.
Well, I want to ask this question too, because things have changed a lot.
Yeah,
Now, you went from there and you came back to run the drugstore here, right?
that's right.
Okay. Now, and when you was running the drugstore back in the 50s and 60s, was it different than it is now when they wrote a prescription? Did you have to mix up?
Oh yes,
You had to actually
yes.
take the chemicals and make them up then, right?
Liquids particularly, I remember when the first antibiotics came on.
Mhm.
Well, the sulfa drugs were they were in the war there. They're little.
Right.
Penicillin was just beginning, but the first real broad spectrum, we call it,
Right.
antibiotic, which covers a lot of penicillin,
Mm-hmm.
covers strep and staph
Right,
or
yeah,
something like that.
right.
If you have strep throat, they give you penicillin.
They used to, one of the medical doctors we had here in town, when you got what they thought the flu, they gave you a shot of penicillin.
Oh, give you a shot of penicillin, right?
And that's another story. I'll tell
Well,
you.
okay.
At the time.
Well, anyway, the first broad spectrum antibiotic was aureomycin.
Mhm.
It went on to become a veterinary drug.
Yeah, I remember that.
they used it, but then it was in a yellow capsule. Now I don't know how many times that I heard this phrase when I tell them the price. What is that? Gold? Heard that many times.
Yeah, but
That
now
was about
listen,
50 cents a capsule.
the reason I asked you that because there was one time my daughter became sick, and she went up to see Dr. Lane, and the medicine she needed was not available. You was a druggist back then, and it wasn't available here. So you got with him and looked it up and made it up here. And I don't think that you see that very often today.
Well, probably there are pharmacies, bitty pharmacies now that have gone back to compounding. There's
right.
in fact that you may see that a compounding pharmacy. That means that they have
They can mix it up right there.
well, and there are some things. For instance, there is a shingles. You know, shingles.
Very well familiar
Okay,
with it.
there is a ointment.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy it, but you can get your pharmacist and
To make
to make it up for you. They
Wow.
over at Mountain View,
yeah.
the pharmacy over there, Dana Wood,
Mm-hmm.
who owned the pharmacy then, made some up for me for my wife when she had an
shingles.
attack of the shingles.
Wow.
And it works.
Yeah.
But
see,
you can't buy it. It's not available from
already
from
manufactured.
no.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
man, nobody
There was
manufactured.
a lot of difference back then, wasn't it?
Well, you know that's been fairly recent.
Yeah.
That part.
I mean, back when you
but
was a
back,
pharmacist,
yeah,
that was
we
normal.
used to have. I have glaucoma, by the way.
Yes.
Have had just almost 50 years,
Uh-huh.
and so you now you get it drops.
Yeah.
I don't know how many bottles of that stuff I've used, but I used to buy the powder
Uh-huh.
and make that up, and put it in a little, the only kind of bottle to put it in was the one with a dropper bottle,
Mhm.
squeeze dropper bottle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I made a lot of that. That's really the one thing that I've prepared more. Now, when we bought the drugstore, the pharmacist, the Evans brothers,
Right.
manufactured several things. One of them was One Night brand itch ointment, but we still made that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I had it putting labels on it under my name, instead
Yeah.
of theirs. One Night brand itch ointment.
All right, I'm going to close this segment. We're going to start another one.
Okay.
Just a minute. So people that's watching in, I want them to be excited because the next segment, I want to hear how your family ended up being in this area. Okay? We're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.